if you just join us, please let us know your name and where you're from. We would love to get to know you. And let me know if this is your first time or is your second, third time. Let us know, say hi. We have a very exciting workshop tonight. It's exciting and positive the same time. I can't wait. I know you will learn a lot and feel more released after this session.
Hello, I'm Kathy from Florida. This is my first time.
Hello, Cassie. Who else want to introduce yourself? I'm so happy you are here.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then if you can tell us maybe in the chat or somewhere, like let us know what's the reason you want to join this workshop and what you are hoping to achieve tonight. That would be great too. That will help us and Robin to tailor like certain points or anything that you want us to address tonight. I see a lot of familiar faces. So if this is your first time, I just want to do a quick house clean. My name is Rongrong DeVoe. I am an artist. I love to draw women, to celebrate diversity, to empower women. So this is a new series I started to do this year, is to do a monthly workshop where we focus on different points like mental health, goal setting, vision board. That's something that we have done. And then just to education, to do a little bit education to help us to be better in life, in work, general. So that's what I do. And tonight we have a super awesome rock star, Robin. She is a planner, babe, and she also is a licensed therapist. So she will focus on teach us something about mental health, which is so important right now. And I will let her to share all her knowledge with us tonight. Hopefully you will get a little gem and brain using your own life after tonight. Sounds good? Yeah, let's give Robin a clap and let her start the session.
Okay, hi everyone. As Rongrong said, I'm Robin Roseborough. I'm a mental health therapist here in Baltimore, Maryland, where I live, but I'm a full-time content creator. I'm a planner and journal enthusiast. I love all things crafty, and I really like to merge the two, mental health and being a maker, being a creative, and how those things merge. So my motto is craft, plan, heal. And tonight I'm hoping that we will have some great dialogue about self-love, self-worth, self-care, mental health, and how we take care of ourselves with the many different hats that we have to wear. So I'm looking forward to you guys interacting and engaging with us as we talk about that. And we're choosing this theme because this is the month that people think about love, or, you know, the cliche things like Valentine's Day or not having a Valentine, being single, being a mom, what that looks like. But at the core, if we have self-love, then every other part of our life gets better. We're able to nurture every other relationship and every other goal and hobby if we are taking care of ourselves first. So with that being said, we are just going to start with a really general definition of what self-love is. We hear it all the time, but to get a real mental health definition. So this is coming from goodtherapy.org. It says self-love refers to the act of valuing one's happiness and well-being. Self-love is a kind of acceptance that can be described as an unconditional sense of support and caring and a core of compassion for oneself. It might also be considered a willingness to meet your own personal needs and allow non-judgmental thinking about yourself. I really, really like that definition because it's really full and it shows us, for example, in therapy, right? I would tell people things like, be gentle with yourself, love on yourself, affirm yourself, right? Or you might hear people say, you can't pour from an empty cup. But I like to flip that. And I like to say, focus on filling your cup up. So for me, that's what I think when I think about self-love. How can I fill my cup? Sometimes for me, it's getting up in the morning and setting a timer and saying for 30 minutes, I'm going to journal, I'm going to create something, and that's how I'm going to start my day. Another day, it might be your devotionals or prayers or reflections or mantras. Every day it can look different. Some days it will look the same. And then there are going to be those days that are dark and that are hard. And when we have the self-love, then we have something to draw from on the days where we don't have as much light, if that makes sense.
Robin? Robin, can you hear us? Can you all hear her?
No. And now we're trying to get back to it. And just to give some examples, it could be things like grief. It could be things like divorce or breakups, parent guilt, if you have to work a lot. It could be so many things. It could be something from your childhood. Maybe there was this thing, this quirk that you had, and people always put it down, and that stayed with you. And as a result, you haven't blossomed as much as you could in your adult life because you've been kind of dimming your light a bit. So all those things are in the subconscious. So we're just going to open the floor. If anybody wants to share just a few people on what types of experiences maybe that have personal or just general can lead you to having more of a diminished view of self-esteem. And then we're going to talk about ways to cope with that.
Hey, we lost some of your audio, and Rongrong was trying to get your attention. So could you kind of regroup just a little bit of what you said initially? We missed a lot of it.
Sorry, for some reason, it's very, I can't really hear.
Yeah, Robin, we lost a part of your presentation that we couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm not sure. I might have to go out and come back in.
Do you want to do that?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. Fine. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to come out and come back in.
Okay. Okay.
How's the baby, Rongrong?
Baby is good.
Sweet.
He's an older baby now. He's 20 months, almost 21 months. So
that went by so fast.
Yes, I know. I still have like my pregnant picture with a big belly on my phone.
They're
okay.
Is Robin here? I think.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can hear you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I could not hear you guys at all. So do you know where you stopped hearing me?
I think since the beginning.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, I'm sorry about that, guys.
No problem.
So basically, did we get the definition of self-love?
Yes, we did get the definition, and then after that's the part that, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry about that, guys. So basically, we define self-love, and then what we want to do is we want to kind of see what areas in our life may have diminished our ability to effectively love ourselves. And what I was saying was there could be different things that could happen. It could be grief. It could have been a breakup or divorce. It could be parent guilt. It could just be being so busy that we haven't made time for ourselves, but we want to kind of go back to go forward. So what are some of the things that take us from not loving ourselves, and then how can we get closer to that? So I was just asking if anybody had any personal revelations or experiences with the why or the how they got away from fully loving themselves, and then we're going to talk about some coping skills.
Okay, I see a hand. I'll ask Natalie. Can you unmute?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a lot of caring about others or taking care of others that could pull attention away from taking care of myself. You know, whether it's aging parents or friends in need or other family members, a lot of that is happening, especially now with the pandemic. And so that can take away a lot of attention from, you know, taking care of yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for that, Natalie. This is true. And I think it happens with all of us because we do have a responsibility so much greater outside of ourselves, right? But what I was sharing was what I like to do in therapies is I don't like to tell people you can't pour from an empty cup. You know, we hear that a lot. But I like to tell them, focus on filling your cup. Set boundaries by filling your cup. I can't today because I got to take care of me, or maybe I can do it a little bit later. But we have to constantly work on filling our cup up so that when someone does need us, we are at the capacity where we don't have to deplete ourselves to help others. So that was a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. Anybody else want to share an example of maybe some things that have pulled us away from having a self-love journey?
Hi, can I speak? Hi. Uh-oh, we lost your volume again. I don't know if anyone else can hear you.
Okay, yes.
Oh, you're back. Okay. So I was just going to say from a different perspective that for me personally, my challenge for a good majority of my life as a mother, a wife, a single mom, a single person is figuring out what self-care looks like, because I grew up in an era where self-care wasn't really talked about much. And if you were trying to, in a limited capacity, operate from a self-care standpoint or mindset, you were labeled selfish. So in about 35, 40 years of age, I hear the definition that self-care isn't selfish, and selfish is when I win and you lose, and self-care is when we both win. But it's a hard bridge to cross, because I struggle mentally with thinking if I'm saying no to someone, and that's truly my no, that I'm hurting their feelings or I'm being selfish. And it's hard to always distinguish one from the other in the real time.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Thank you for bringing that up. I think what I challenge people to do is always to look at the pros and cons of choosing you, as well as the reciprocity. So with your kids, right? That's like an unconditional love. You have to be there for them. You have to be present, right? But once they get to a certain age, are your children grown?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
And that's an example. Like, I have grown children, and one of my children wanted me to do a real life favor that was going to be me saying yes to her and no to myself. That because I was unable to say yes, I felt like I was being selfish, but also there was the consequence of the loss of relationship. And that sometimes in different scenarios where you're choosing yourself, the consequence could very easily be that you will lose a relationship, or the relationship wasn't what you thought it was because it was conditioned upon your yeses to everything. And the minute you say no, that relationship becomes jeopardized. So then how real was it in the first, even if it's with your children? maybe they're just so conditioned to me saying yes. And then as adults, I'm having to find a new word, and that's a shocker.
Yeah, definitely. And that's a good point. And I deal with people every day that come against this dilemma. Your children are grown. You've raised them up to be the best people that they can be. They are still going to need you. Yes, but you're not always going to be able to be available in the way that they need you. So that's where the empowerment tool comes in. And it's hard. I'm not going to lie. It's two things. It's setting clear boundaries about your availability and what you're able and willing to do. And then there's the empowering, the telling them, I know that you have the tools, the capabilities, the resources, and the wherewithal to do it without me, or to be resourceful and to find other help, because I have to stretch myself this way. So that would be the most guidance that I could give in this moment, is just to empower your children, your spouse. A lot of us, and I'm guilty too, our spouses, we do a lot of things for them that they could do for themselves, right? It's just love. That's what love looks like a lot of times, is taking care of people. But when we're trying to turn on this new thing of self-love, we kind of have to keep reminding ourselves that we have to give less and give more to ourselves. So it's a constant battle, and it takes time. It takes a plan. You know, a lot of us are planners. You kind of got to write it down. What is my social capacity for this week, for this month, for this year? And then what are my personal goals of self-care that I want to do for myself? That can be that you want to get 2 facials every 6 months. You know, you want to have a mani where no one is calling you. Maybe you put your phone on do not disturb, but just small things. So you're not shutting yourself off to the world. You're just opening yourself up to yourself a little bit more. Thank you so much for sharing those personal stories, guys. So those are some examples of what we have to go through when we're trying to get on this path of self-love. And another really, really strong component of self-love is self-knowing and self-discovery. A lot of us, and we don't have to feel guilty about it, but we can be 30, 40, 50 and not truly know who we are and what we want. And that's when it comes to kind of just making your list. What do I want? What new skills do I want to learn? What is my dating life going to look like now at this age? Because of course it's going to be different than it was 5 years ago, right? Sometimes, you know, you can ask someone, what's your favorite food? Or what's your favorite dessert? Or what's your favorite movie? And they don't have any. They have them, but they can't kind of get their wheels turning about it. We have to know ourselves really, really personal. When you get into a relationship with someone, and it gets to the point where there's going to be intimacy and you're going to be going to a different level, if you don't really know you in and out, you can't know what to tell them. If we're not loving ourselves in our love language, we cannot express to someone else how to love us. And that's what we talked about in one of Rongrong's other workshops, is knowing your love language and then loving yourself in that way. For example, my love language is words of affirmation. And that's one of the things that we're going to talk about later on, is affirming yourself, right? If yours is gifts, don't feel guilty when you buy yourself things or treat yourself to that craft store run, because that's what you need to energize you. We all need energizers, okay? So that's good stuff. Does anybody want to share anything else about their self-love or self-discovery before we move on to some coping skills?
Hey, there was somebody with an iPhone that had their hand raised last time that they didn't get a chance to speak.
Do you see them, Rongrong?
Hi, I'd like to talk. Hopefully my daughter cooperates though. Hi, so I'm an addictions counselor. We actually talked about self-love today. And I know for me, we were talking about like the difference between self-love, you know, self-pampering and self-indulgence, you know, so self-love, you know, and self-care is something that you're doing for yourself, and self-pampering might be something that somebody else is doing for you. And not confusing it. Like, you know, we need a nice vacation or whatnot, but it doesn't have to be expensive. You know, self-care, self-love is just things that we do on a daily basis. Self-pampering or self-indulgence could be like in moderation, you know, and just finding the time without feeling guilty for doing that, you know. And like you said, people pleasing or not being able to say no and things like that is other barriers, you know. So
That's a great point. And thank you for bringing that up, because I did have a little note about the self-indulgent piece. We got to be real careful, right? Because it's a slippery slope. If I want to treat myself, and part of my self-care is I want to come home and pull all my crafts out and have a glass of wine, right? But if that gets real good to me and I'm liking that vibe, and then I start feeling like I need a glass of wine to unwind each time, then that could become self-indulgent. And that can happen with any type of vice, with your with wines, with foods, even with people. Maybe some people that really aren't maybe the best social circle for you, but when you're around them, you feel good, so you overindulge, and then it comes back. So I like that you brought that up. We have to be careful that our self-care doesn't become self-indulgent. Another point that we might not think about, also from goodtherapy.org, is we want to make sure that our self-love doesn't get so overwhelming that we lose our compassion. We don't want, like I said, we don't want to shut everyone off and say, I'm on this self-love journey. The answer is no to everything. You know, we still, as human beings, we need to have that balance. So thank you. That was a great point. Anybody else before we move on?
I would like to ask, like, maybe other people have the same question, like how do you find out your love language?
Oh, good question. So of course there are like all those like quizzes online. You can take one of those self-love quizzes, but I feel like when you are in that part of self-discovery, you just know. All of the love languages will appeal to all of us at some time, but there's always that one that really gives you the feels. If someone comes in and spends their undivided attention with you, no phone, and you're just cuddled up and you're watching your favorite movies, quality time might really be your thing. You know, if you get the butterflies when you see them come in with those bags from the store because they bought you something, there's going to be one that sticks out. So I just say trial and error, and you really learn from relationships. But there are tons of quizzes out there, and they will kind of put your love languages in order for you. And there are 5 love languages, by the way, guys. So it's worth finding out what it is. For some people, it's acts of service, right? Acts of service is really a beautiful love language, because it's when you have a full plate. Someone in your life sees that you have a full plate and they intentionally take something off your plate. So if that does it for you, acts of service could be yours, which means that that's how you will love yourself. You will do acts of service for yourself. You will work really hard not to overwhelm yourself. You will work on time management, things like that. So great question, Rongrong. Yeah, there's a lot of those love language quizzes out there. Okay, guys, so now we're going to move on to the why. Why should we buy into the whole self-love, self-care? Why should we buy into it? What are the mental health effects that it can have? Okay, so it's been clinically proven that going on a journey of self-love and gratitude and self-worth will decrease symptoms of anxiety, of depression, and perfectionism, the need for perfectionism. And I want to focus on that perfectionism piece because I put up a quote on Instagram the other day and it got a lot of attention. And it said, I used to be a hot mess, and now I'm just a hot mess with a pretty planner, right? So of course we don't mean that in the literal sense, but everyone was laughing because it's like, I got all these planners and all these journals, but things can still get really crazy. But there are those of us that really have type A personalities, which that used to be me. And I went on a journey to release it. And I feel much better now that I did. But that type A personality and that perfection, wanting that perfection, will put you in a place of anxiety, because no one can do the job better than you can. All the T's have to be crossed and the I's have to be dotted. And that brings about too much pressure. We cannot love ourselves or love anyone else around us effectively if we have this notion that everything is going to be perfect. So I did want to stop there and just kind of see if anyone is willing to share either personal experience or someone maybe in your life that you've known where that perfectionism piece comes in, or that anxiety from wanting to always be in control of everything in your life. Do you see any hands? Okay, so if no one is going to
Oh, there is one.
Okay.
Alicia, can you unmute? Yes.
Yeah, hi Robin. So
Hi, Lisa.
I'm gonna say I'm kind of going through that myself right now. It's kind of I'm in this rut of professionalism. I'm overthinking everything. I'll create, and it's taking me like 10 times longer than it usually does, and I'm bringing that into now like my other world, my real world, and it's just I don't know how to find that balance, and it's kind of that anxiety is coming in, and I sometimes I try to sit back and think and just say, just go with it, and when I do, I get a better reaction from my family, from my friends, and even in my posts and things like that. But when I overthink it just is starting to show a little bit,
Right.
and so it's just like trying to, I guess, how to find that balance of, or you said you went through that journey already, like how did you know when it was time to start that journey, or how did that look like for you?
So for me, for those of you that don't know, over on Instagram, my brand is Crafty Planner Queen, right? Crafty Planner Queen has grown in the last year. I'm very grateful for how it's grown, but it went fast and it got to be overwhelming. Me liking things, being a creative and liking things a certain way and wanting them to always be right and wanting anything I present out there to be good is a good thing, right? But when it becomes overwhelming and you're just stressed and you're not even able to get your creative ideas out because you have so much on your mind, that is when I started opening myself up to help, to know that I have to trust other people to know if I give them, if I start delegating little responsibilities, just see how it works. And it has worked. Alicia has helped me with my brand and became my brand assistant. And that has taken things off my plate. And now I can have a clearer mind. Now I can create even more, just understanding that someone else can do it. They're never going to do it like you. No one's going to do things exactly like we do, but you have to find your tribe. I use that word a lot. Find your tribe. Maybe we don't get help because we never ask, but as soon as you ask and someone comes in and you say, wow, there are other competent people, this could work for me. You know what I mean? That's like the part of the process. And I think journaling helps a lot. Writing out, these are some things I am struggling with. These are some things that are overwhelming me. And that's how you come up with solutions. I always say when we journal, it's non-judgmental. We're just talking to ourselves and we're figuring things out for ourselves. So I would say journal about the parts of your life that are most overwhelming. And then let's try to see how we can start to slowly, because it's a slow process. It's going to take time. You've always done things one way. But how can we start delegating some of these responsibilities to other people so that you can get to the center of your happy? Because we can't be happy and fully joyful when we are overwhelmed. We'll have little glimmers of happiness, but it won't be full. And I'm living a much fuller life by just asking for help, giving people responsibilities. And honestly, one thing that my partner has showed me is to go with the flow. I was never a go with the flow girl. I'm like, oh no, we're out of town. Here's our itinerary. Here's what we're going to do Friday, Saturday, Sunday. This is where we're going for brunch. That doesn't always work. And that doesn't always give you the most full experience. So sometimes just to have a day with no itinerary, it works. So just try those things and see how it works for you.
Thank you.
I hope that was helpful. You're welcome. All right, guys. So for the sake of time, we're going to go on. I see someone talking. Okay. Someone says that they love the term tribe. Yes, me too. So we're going to go on. First, I'm going to tell you a few mental health problems that are connected to a lack of self-esteem or lack of self-love. And then we're going to talk about coping skills. Okay. So this is maybe where you want to jot some things down. Okay. So psychological research suggests that these things are linked to a lack of self-love or lack of self-esteem, anxiety, eating disorders, emotional distress, panic or panic attacks, risky behaviors, social anxiety, substance abuse, and overall stress. Those are just some of the things when we don't have that esteem, really that esteem part, because esteem comes first and then love, right? I have to deem myself as lovable first, and then I can start to love on myself. Then I can start to do all the fancy romantic love languages and journaling and freeing myself and healing my trauma, but first I have to deem myself as worthy, especially if someone or something in your life has made you feel unworthy, okay? So there's that piece. And then there are some tips and tools for getting closer to where we want to go. Getting more rest, prioritizing our time, do your thing. So do your thing kind of just means losing that comparison piece and knowing that you are a unique being. There's no one else in the world like you. So do your thing, trust yourself. Quit the self-criticizing, which is hard because those negative thoughts come and come and come. But we'll talk, before we leave, we'll talk a little bit about mindfulness and grounding. And those are two things that can help with your negative thoughts. Okay, and get moving. So movement is probably recommended for all of our mental health woes. It doesn't have to be fancy. You don't have to go to a gym. You don't have to become a yogi. You can turn on your YouTube or your stereo, whatever, in your living room and dance in your underwear if you want, just to get your body moving. Walk in the steps in between sessions, or if you're working from home, doing your chores, whatever the case may be, but just to get the body moving also helps the mind, okay? So before we move on, does anybody want to talk about the mental health disorders that where you have personal experience with, or you've come out of it that may can help someone else, or some of those coping skills that you have tried recently that have worked for you? And then
Natalie?
So I recently started working out, and that has been helpful beyond, because I always heard that exercise helps not only just your body, your physical health, but also your mental health. And I never saw that, and I never really appreciated it until I actually started doing it. So I don't know what made me start doing it. Like I worked out from time to time, but now on a regular basis, I do it, and I do see a big difference. So that's one of the most, I feel like, most underrated and easiest thing to do to improve, your mental health, and not just mental, but also physical, just moving. And like you said, there's so many things on YouTube, especially since the pandemic. Now you just turn on the YouTube and you got a nice, dance video or whatever. And it's just so easy to help you. So that's one of the things I really do appreciate, and that has helped me.
Thank you for sharing that, Lee. Yeah, that's great. And it comes, like you said, comes in a lot of different ways, but just that movement, and you're releasing all those happy hormones in your body. So I love that. Anybody else? And then we're going to talk a little bit about how to make our planners and journals help in this process.
There is a HS, I don't know her last name.
It's Helen. It's Helen.
Okay, Helen.
Hi. I was just gonna say it's a little, I think the movement is really important, being outside, especially being outside in nature right now, because we kind of all got trapped in our homes for almost 18 months. So definitely being out. But I wanted to talk about the perfectionism and the works with the anxiety as far as like social interactions. What was really hard for me is just, making small talk and talking to people. And I started to just practice, in line at the supermarket. Literally, it's like, oh my God, this line's not moving, and see if anybody responded. And then I was like, okay, no big deal, because there's no skin off my nose at this point. But it was really, really hard. And it was because I thought it was a lot about it was it perfectionism. Like, I have to have the best opening line. I have to, it's like, it was really difficult to just talk to people until I just went, okay, you know what? I don't care what they're going to think. They're going to think I'm the odd woman at the supermarket. I'm just going to talk. And then walking and going through the scenarios in my head, like, how could I have done it better? Or, did I read the signals correctly? So kind of a little bit of both of that.
Yeah, wow. Thank you for sharing those. Those are great examples of putting yourself out there, which is extremely hard to do when you have social anxiety. So I commend you for that. And what I always tell people that come in with social anxiety or anxiety in general is, always remember that we are no one-man island. If you are feeling this way inside, there are 10 other people, maybe more, in that immediate area of that supermarket that are feeling the same way. So we go in feeling like, I'm doing this for me, but it's an exchange, because this person may get something from talking to me as well, because I have something to offer. So that's what I would challenge you with going in next time. Like, I'm not going to worry about my opening line, but I'm just going to open myself up and talk, because I know that I have something to give them and they may have something to give me. I have the best interactions when I talk to strangers, you know, because I feel like there is no judge, there is no preconceived notion. You know what I mean? We're just two random people and we can connect on something totally random. Another great way of trying that is talking to people in this realm, virtual and on social media. I know people do it to me all the time, like, hey, I feel kind of weird just coming in your inbox, but I just wanted to say hi, I like your A, B, C, and D, and then friendships come from that, you know? So I will also say, for anybody that's struggling with social anxiety, practice on social media. And then what Helen did, a very brave thing, was get into a random social place and just try, you know, and see how it goes. And don't forget, journal about it later. Write down your feelings. What was my gut reaction? When am I going to do it next? Because if we don't do the when am I going to do the scary thing next, sometimes it won't happen. You know, we'll psych ourselves out. So thank you so much for sharing that. Okay, so I know if you registered ahead of time, you would have got the self-love checklist from Rongrong, but even if you didn't, I'm going to walk you guys through this, and then we're going to talk a little bit about our planners and journals, and then we want to come back and take a few more Q&A, last minute thoughts anybody might have that they didn't get out before we release you guys. So I'm going to flip.
Robin, will you cover people talk about the 2020? You covered last time?
Sure.
Yeah, will you mention that? Okay.
Yeah, so last time we did a mental health workshop, guys, we talked about stealing time for ourselves, which is a great thing to do if we're trying to practice self-love and self-care. And one of the methods I gave was stealing an hour of your day, especially if you are a busy mom, wife, or you have a really busy job. It's a sacrifice. It may mean that you have to wake up an hour earlier or stay up an hour later, but you might be able to steal that hour right in the day. And then you break your hour down into 20, 20, 20. So the first 20 minutes, you might say, I haven't journaled all week. This is my 20 minutes. You put your timer on your phone and you just write. Whatever comes, you write. The next 20 minutes, you might want to tidy up your space, because I know for me, about every 3 days, this platform gets unbearably messy and it messes with me because I can't function, you know? So then I have to set my timer. I usually do 15 minutes because whatever doesn't get cleaned up in 15 minutes is getting pushed under the desk. So you set your timer for 20 minutes. You might want to tidy up. Your last 20 minutes, you might want to run out and get yourself coffee, or you might want to read your book that you've been neglecting. Same thing for nighttime. If you're taking your 20, 20, 20 in the night, that could be a 20-minute shower or bubble bath, 20 minutes listening to your favorite mixes or watching something on TV, and another 20 minutes talking to your partner about their day and what they have going on, because that's also really important. There was a study about coming home to the people that you love and not asking how your day was. So that is important. Please ask the people in your home, how was their day, and try to offer solutions to problems that they may have. But that's the 20, 20, 20, guys. You steal an hour for yourself and you break your hour down into 3 increments to get the most out of it. So I hope that some of you guys will try that and see how it works for you. I always steal my hour. It's the best practice that I've been doing. So thanks for bringing that up, Rongrong. Okay, are we ready to go into the checklist? Rongrong, are we good to go into the checklist?
Oh, yes.
All right, so the checklist, if you guys have it, it looks like this. If you don't have it, I'm gonna walk you through it. So I geared this one around creatives and for creative people, but you don't necessarily have to be a creative person, but I know most of us are. I'm sorry, I see a hand. Yes, I can't read that. Is that Lauren?
Sorry,
think
it's still on from earlier. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Oh, that's okay. Okay.
That's from earlier, yeah.
Okay, so you don't have to be a creative person to do this list, guys, but if you are a creative person, then these things may help you, okay? The first one, which is something I adopted about maybe 3 years ago, and that is to write and recite daily affirmations. So this is really broad, right? Because there are a lot of ways that you can do it. I was using like a monthly spread and a planner and writing my 1 sentence positive affirmation there. I was doing that for a long time. Now I have like a morning reflection / moon journal. I write my positive affirmation in there. Sometimes I even write it in my daily planner, but somewhere where I'm going to see it for the part of the day that's starting my day, which is in the morning. I want to affirm myself, just one little statement or one mantra to hold on to that's giving me some positive energy. And it doesn't mean I'm going to have a perfect day, but it just means I started off my day by saying something kind to myself. So there are apps. There are so many places that you can get them. They have tons of them on Pinterest, if you guys have that app. But writing and reciting daily affirmations, and the key to it is consistency, to make sure you do it every day and see if you feel any change. And then a cool thing I like about it, which I'm seeing a lot of people do over on Instagram, is sharing it. When we get something good, we don't want to keep it to ourselves. We want to share it with the community. So I see people put in their daily affirmation. I guess it's an app on their phone that they use, and they're sharing it out to other people. Thank you, Angela, for pinning that. Rongrong, I do see that someone asked, will they be able to access the checklist after?
Yes, I'm going to send the link right here so everyone can go download.
Perfect. Okay, great, guys. So that was the first one. If you've already been doing positive affirmations, you can check that one off. If you're going to try it starting from now for the rest of 2022, then you can start it or you can leave it blank until you begin, okay? Our second one is schedule a solo coffee or cafe date or lunch date, whatever type of date. Solo dates can be very scary. And I used to be the person that thought, oh my God, I'm going to look so weird sitting there by myself. But now I love a good solo date. It's me, my iPad, my planner, maybe a good book. And my favorite spots are like Panera Bread or Starbucks. And you just zone out. And then if you are the person that feels really weird being by yourself, you can put your earbuds in, like your music or something like that. But a solo date, and on that date, you could be working on your self-love. You could be working on, okay, I'm going to pick out my affirmations for the whole month, or this is just my time to be away from my kids and to get a snack that I don't have to share. You know what I mean? Whatever the case is. So if you've been on a solo date, you're going to check that off. And if you have never been on a solo date, you're going to try to make that a goal while you're on your self-love journey. Okay. So yes, I'm going to check that one off. Another idea is to make a messy art journal page. So what I would do when I was working exclusively with children in the schools is, say I had a child that had like anger issues, I would pull them from class and we would do activities like I would put the crayons out and say, this one means angry, this one means sad, this one means trouble, this one means I'm feeling sick today. And I would let them just scribble and go crazy on the paper, and that would be their emotional art page. We still need something like that as adults. So sometimes you don't want something all pretty and prim and proper that can be shown on social media. Sometimes you need to get your emotions out and do that in a creative way. So I say make something that's messy and imperfect. And that's part of our practice of breaking out of that perfectionism too. So that's an idea. If you've done that or tried something like that, you can cross it off. This one is really important, guys, because this one is tangible, but it's also very spiritual, and that is purging. Purging and decluttering your mental and physical space. So that goes with the negative thinking, right? Every time you think a negative thought, trying to flip it to a positive. That goes with clearing people. If you have phone numbers in your phone or pictures that you're holding on to from past relationships, you got to purge it. It's a spiritual practice to purge it, to delete it, and to let it go. And it's part of your healing. If you have clothes in your closet that you have not worn, and I'm gonna give us a little bit of grace because it's been a pandemic and I ain't worn some of my stuff either. But I'm talking like years and you're still holding on to it. You should purge it. You should give it away. Let someone else make better use of it. Okay. I recently did a purge, so I'm gonna check that off. Taking a bubble bath and reading or listening to your favorite book. So I think sometimes, guys, we get so busy in the hustle and bustle. You could probably go a month and you have just been in and out the shower, hopping in and out the shower, rushing through your hygiene time, when your hygiene time is supposed to be, but some days you gotta rush. We just know we're humans, but sometimes your hygiene time, that's your time to hopefully be in the bathroom by yourself for a few moments and kind of just de-stress. There are things you could do. You could add aromatherapy, candles, your eucalyptus hanging from your shower. Get creative with it. Try new scents, try new scrubs. But using your hygiene time to de-stress. Maybe you want to read, maybe you don't have time to read, so you want an audio book, whatever the case may be. So try that. If you've already tried that, check it off. So not just showers, we want to give ourselves time to soak and bathe as well. Listening to a self-love podcast and take notes. And I put podcast, but I also meant to put podcast or sermon, because some people like to get it from devotional things like a sermon, or it might be you took notes and a couple things really stood out to you. And some people might like a podcast, but just something that you can listen to and absorb that's all about the self-love word, because we want to learn as much as we can about it so that we can get better at it. Okay. And also following self-love pages, inspirational quotes, things like that. It's just a good self-practice. Write yourself a love letter. So this is one of my favorites, guys. I've written a couple and I'll take like different spans during different times in my life. And sometimes I'm like, oh, I was really going through something when I wrote that one, because it's like sad and sappy, like, you got this, girl. Other times I'm feeling really good. So I'm just empowering myself and validating myself. But you should write yourself a love letter. Write your name, because that's important. Dear, like I would write, Dear Robin, and just write out all your great qualities, how resilient you are, what you do love about yourself, why you want to get closer to self-love and self-worth. And then you should read that letter back to yourself in 6 months and see how you've grown. Okay. So I think you should try that. Someone asks us for self-love podcasts. I don't have any offhand. I just listen to a bunch of like empowering people, just like different TikToks and YouTubes, but I will try to find some that are just for self-love, and I will put those over in my stories tomorrow. So over on Instagram, you guys can find me at craftyplanner_queen, and I will make a note for that, and Rongrong will make a note for that as well. So let me make a note so we can have a running list. Okay, so we ended on love letter. Moving on, we talked about this, so we don't have to elaborate, but meal prep and exercise for an improved mood. That's something that is really, really good. Knowing kind of what we're gonna eat throughout our day, having a plan, especially if we are someone who has struggled with that. Practicing daily gratitude. So gratitude is different than affirming. Affirming is, let's see, my creativity is going to make room for me today. I have the resources for everything that I need. It's kind of like affirming or manifesting or speaking good things over yourself, right? But daily gratitude means whether this day goes good, bad, or indifferent, I have something from every day that I can be grateful for. And when I'm focusing in on my gratitude, I'm taking time away and energy away from my complaining, my self-loathing, my criticizing. I'm saying, I'm grateful for this. I'm thankful for this. And that is something I have an actual gratitude journal, 1 line a day. I just write 1 sentence every single day about something I'm grateful for. And I'm like looking back on that too, because it shows us from day to day how it's not all bad. There is something good or okay at least in each day. So practice your daily gratitude. And lastly, we have take more pictures of yourself. So how we talked about in the beginning, when our self-love gets a little withered and a little diminished, we tend to hide and we tend to draw in. And that means maybe you never show your face, not on Zooms, not on social media. You don't want to FaceTime. And so it's like, who are we hiding from? Are we hiding from the world, or are we hiding from ourselves because we don't feel good enough in the physical? So take pictures of yourself, show yourself off to the world, and know that everything about you, the way that you're made, the symmetry of your face, your hair, whatever, and the imperfections, they are good enough. That is a good place to start. And also looking in the mirror, because a lot of people struggle with that, even looking in the mirror. So those are some things that just to get us started, guys. And as you practice some of the things from this list and some of the things we talked about, you will see, or you should see, the quality of your life improving. Because one of the main positive benefits of self-love is it improves our self-esteem, but it also improves our relationships. I don't need so much validation. I don't need you to make me feel sure about myself, because I have it for myself, So that's that. I saw a lot of, I think, questions or comments that we might want to pull up before we talk about planners real quick.
Lots of people agree with you about take picture. They don't take enough pictures. And then also Lauren shared a helpful resource from her her knowledge, like self-compassion. There's a link for that. Yeah.